Most people wake up every morning reacting to life. Their phones buzz, their alarms scream, and before their feet even hit the ground, they're already overwhelmed. They race through the day on autopilot, chasing tasks, responding to noise, checking boxes. They don't own their day owns them. And it happens not because they're lazy, but because they've never built a system, a code for conquering their time, their energy, and their priorities. See, there's a massive difference between being busy and being effective. Being busy means your calendar's full. Being effective means your direction is clear. Most people confuse motion with progress, but forward movement without purpose is just drift. And drift is what kills momentum. If you want to build something, your business, your career, your life, you can't afford to drift. Key isn't working more hours. It's designing better hours. The way you structure your day determines the output of your life. If you want to make real impact, build something that matters, or push beyond what's considered average, you need rules. Not restrictions, rules. Foundations that keep you centered while everything around you shifts. And no, this isn't about motivation. Motivation is a mood. It comes and goes. What you need is something deeper, something more mechanical, something repeatable. Systems you can run even when your mind is tired. Especially when the pressure's on. The truth is, success doesn't happen by accident. It's engineered. It's built by people who understand that how you live each day becomes how you live your life. And once you realize that, you stop wasting your mornings, your energy, your focus. You stop living by default. You start living by design. These 5 rules aren't just ideas, they're tools. Tools to help you master your mindset, optimize your time, and build relentless momentum. Not someday, not next week, every single day. Because when you conquer the day consistently, you don't just get ahead, you stay ahead. Let's break this down. Let's build the system. Let's flip the switch. If you really want to conquer your day, you need to understand that it doesn't begin when you wake up. It begins the night before. That's something most people completely overlook. They think that getting up early or hitting the gym first thing in the morning is where discipline starts. But it's not. Discipline starts when you choose to prepare. It's when you decide not to crash into bed with chaos still lingering in your mind. Yeah. It's when you take a few minutes the night before to reset your system, to get clear about your priorities, and to organize your environment for execution. What you do before you sleep is what gives structure to your morning. That last hour before bed, it's a window to engineer your tomorrow. You can either scroll endlessly, get distracted, and let the noise bleed into your subconscious, or you can shut down intentionally. You can review your day with honesty. What worked? What didn't? What absolutely needs to be better? You don't need a journal or an app to do this. Just awareness. Just clarity. And then you can decide deliberately what tomorrow is going to look like. That's how momentum begins. Not with intensity, with intentionality. Because without a plan, your mind defaults to the path of least resistance. That's how we end up wasting our mornings, checking emails that don't matter, reacting instead of creating, busy but not productive. But when you've already laid out your intentions the night before, your brain has direction. When your phone is across the room, your workspace is ready, and your first task is clearly defined, there's no thinking involved in the morning. Just action. You remove the friction. You remove the resistance, and that makes you dangerous in the best possible way. It's not about rigid structure. It's about strategic clarity. Even 5 minutes of planning can set the trajectory of your entire day. Most people underestimate the compound power of small decisions, but success isn't built in dramatic events. It's built in micro moments, like how you end your night. That's where the edge is. That's where you start to separate from average, because when you're prepared, you're already ahead. You don't wake up and wonder what to do, you wake up and execute. That's how days are conquered. That's how progress compounds. So if you're serious about mastering your days, start by mastering your nights, because momentum is never accidental, it's engineered. The first hour of your day is not just another block of time. It's the control panel for everything that follows. What you do in that first hour sets the tone, the rhythm, in many cases, the outcomes of your day. That's why you have to protect it like it's sacred. You can't afford to spend it in reactive mode, scrolling through your phone, replying to messages, jumping into noise. The first hour isn't for the world's agenda, it's for yours. What most people don't realize is that your brain, right after waking up, is in its most programmable state. It's fresh, not yet burdened by decision fatigue. It's a blank slate. That's the exact moment you can design your trajectory. So the question becomes, are you designing it, or are you letting randomness take over? If you start your day in reaction, you're already behind. You've already handed control to someone or something else. But when you start with intention, whether that's silence, movement, deep work, or even just 10 minutes of stillness, you create forward momentum. You shift your brain into proactive gear. You start playing offense instead of defense. Winning the first hour doesn't have to be complex. It's not about copying some influencer's 27-step routine. It's about understanding what activities unlock your clarity, energy, and focus. That might be a short workout to activate your physiology. It might be reviewing your top 3 priorities. It might be diving into the hardest task before distractions arrive. It's not the activity, it's the ownership of that hour that matters. People underestimate how much leverage exists in those 60 minutes. They think they can skip it in a catch-up all later in the day. But you don't catch up on momentum. Once it's gone, the day feels heavier, more scattered. You lose time switching between tasks. You make more decisions, not better ones. The mental drag is real. And it all stems from how you started. Think of your first hour like launch sequence. If you rush it or skip steps, everything that follows becomes unstable. But when it's executed with precision, everything else aligns more easily. Your energy is focused, your mind is sharp, and more importantly, you've started with a win stack. They build the kind of confidence that carries through meetings, conversations, and creative work. You don't need a perfect morning, you just need an intentional one. Because if you win the first hour, the rest of the day doesn't stand a chance. There's a simple rule I live by. Do the hardest thing first. Most people avoid it. They push it off, circle around it, build their day around everything but that one difficult task. But that's a mistake. That hard thing, the thing that makes you uncomfortable, the one that requires focus, courage, and energy, that's the very thing that moves you forward faster than anything else. And when you knock it out first, everything else feels lighter, easier, more manageable. There's science behind this too. Your willpower is like a battery. It drains as the day goes on. Every decision you make, every distraction you battle, every interruption you tolerate, it all eats into your ability to focus and follow through. That's why saving your most important work for later is a broken strategy. Later, your energy's lower, your mind's scattered. And now that hard task becomes even harder. Not because it changed, but because you did. That's why it makes sense to tackle the hard thing early. When your mind is sharp, your willpower is full, and the world hasn't started pulling you in 100 directions. It's about getting into this comfort zone before life gets noisy. That's where real momentum starts. Not when everything's easy, but when you choose to lean into the thing that most people avoid. And you don't need to feel like doing it. Waiting for motivation is a trap. You just need to start. Because once you start, friction disappears, resistance weakens. And you begin to build proof to yourself that you're someone who acts in spite of discomfort. That's where confidence comes from. Not from comfort, not from praise, but from doing hard things consistently, especially when no one's watching. This approach does something powerful to your psychology. When you start your day by defeating something difficult, your brain registers that win. It creates momentum that spills into everything else. It sharpens your decision making, it boosts your discipline. You stop flinching when pressure shows up later in the day, because you already handled more earlier. You prove to yourself again that you're capable. And look, it's not about being fearless. It's about choosing courage over comfort over and over until the fear has nowhere to hide. Because the man who does the hard thing first is always one step ahead, not just of others, but of his former self. If you want to separate yourself from average, stop waiting. Go straight for the hardest thing and finish it before the rest of the world even gets moving. There's a huge difference between moving with pressure and moving with purpose. Most people wake up and immediately feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. Emails, deadlines, expectations, noise. They spend their day reacting to everything. They're always in motion, always busy, always overwhelmed. But motion doesn't equal progress. Being active doesn't mean you're effective. You can run in circles all day and still end up nowhere. What matters isn't how much you do, it's why you're doing it, and whether it's moving you towards something meaningful. When you operate from pressure, your decisions are driven by urgency and fear. You say yes to too many things. You chase results without direction. You multitask thinking it's efficient when in reality, it fragments your focus and burns you out faster. You become a slave to your to-do list instead of the architect of your mission. And here's the thing, pressure will always exist. There's no way to eliminate it completely. But the key is choosing purpose over pressure as your internal compass. When you move with purpose, every task has intention behind it. You're not just crossing things off, you're building something. You filter opportunities, you say no more often. You protect your time, not because you're lazy, but because you understand leverage. You know that one focused hour on the right thing beats 10 distracted hours on the wrong ones. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters deeply and consistently. Operating from purpose creates clarity. And with clarity comes speed. Not chaotic speed, but calculated strategic movement. You're no longer reacting, you're designing. And because you're moving with intention, your energy lasts longer. Your decisions become sharper. You don't just survive the day, you direct it. You create momentum, not stress. And more importantly, you actually enjoy the process because your actions are aligned with something bigger than a checklist. This isn't just about productivity. It's about living a life that feels worth the effort. When you move with purpose, your day stops feeling like a grind and starts feeling like a mission. And people notice. They feel that clarity when they're around you. You become someone who leads with vision instead of panic. Someone who doesn't just move fast, but moves smart. So don't let pressure dictate your actions. Slow down, zoom out, and remember why you started. Because direction always beats speed when you're building something that actually matters. Most people finish the day and immediately jump to the next thing. Next meeting, next distraction, next dopamine hit. They rarely stop to ask one critical question. Did I get better today? That question matters more than any task you crossed off. If you're not improving even slightly, you're just repeating. And repetition without reflection isn't progress. It's stagnation disguised as activity. The truth is, no day is wasted if you learn from it. That's why reflection isn't optional, it's a necessity. It's what turns experience into wisdom. Without it, you're just going through motions, busy but blind. But when you reflect even briefly, you begin to see patterns. You start identifying what's working and what's wasting your time. You catch your own blind spots before they become breakdowns. And that kind of awareness is the edge very few people develop. You don't need an hour. You don't need a journal unless you want one. You just need 5 minutes of honest, intentional thinking at the end of the day. Ask yourself, what did I execute well? What felt off? What needs to be done differently tomorrow? You're not judging yourself, you're optimizing. That shift in thinking changes everything. Because the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be a little sharper than you were yesterday. And once you reflect, you reset. That means forgiving yourself for what didn't go right. Letting go of any mental clutter. It means closing the loop on the day so you can actually rest. Not just sleep, but rest with clarity. That way, when you wake up, you're not dragging yesterday into today. You're moving forward, clean and focused. Reflection and reset build the foundation for something that most people never master. Consistency. It's not just about doing the right thing once. It's about doing it over and over, learning every time and getting slightly better with each rep. You do that long enough, and the compounding effect becomes unstoppable. You're not just managing your days, you're engineering your trajectory. And here's the part most people miss. Repetition without correction doesn't lead to excellence, but repetition with reflection. That's where mastery begins. So take the time, reflect on the day, reset your mind, and repeat the process tomorrow with more intention, more clarity, and more fire. Because the real power is in your ability to learn fast, adjust faster, and keep showing up no matter what. Most people think energy comes from motivation. They believe they need to feel a certain way before they can do hard things. But that's backwards. High performers don't wait to feel motivated. They design their day to generate energy on command. They understand that energy isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, and strategic. And the smartest way to conquer every day is to protect and produce the energy that fuels execution. Energy is like a currency. If you spend it on things that drain you, constant notifications, shallow conversations, meaningless tasks, you'll find yourself burned out by noon. But when you invest it into things that matter, protect it from things that don't, and create systems that recharge it throughout the day, you move through your schedule with power instead of pressure. That's the difference between fatigue and flow. It starts with what you consume, not just food, but thoughts, information, inputs. What you feed your brain in the first hour of your day shapes how you think, how you feel, and how you show up. Most people wake up and flood their minds with chaos. Emails, headlines, social media, no filter, no control. That's like starting your day by sprinting into a storm. But if you begin your morning with clarity, purpose, and one or two non-negotiables that energize you, whether it's movement, silence, or planning, you gain leverage. And leverage over your own mind is where real performance begins. Then there's momentum. Small wins early in the day compound. You don't need to conquer everything before lunch, but if you knock out one meaningful task in the first 2 hours, you build momentum that carries you. Momentum generates its own energy, and when you protect that rhythm, your day doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like controlled acceleration. But energy also comes from recovery. The smartest performers know when to push and when to pause. They create white space, not as a luxury, but as a system. Because downtime isn't wasted time. It's the time that resets your ability to make sharp decisions and execute with full intensity. Energy isn't just about hustle. It's about managing your inputs, protecting your focus, and creating a state where execution becomes easier, not harder. Most people try to power through, but the people who really win are the ones who learn to charge through. That's what sets them apart. So stop waiting for energy. Start building it. Start engineering it. Because once you control your energy, you control your day. And once you control your day, you control your future.